Greetings, abnormal psychology students. This session is going to be on your disorder presentations. I am reading to you the information from your syllabus, and I will embellish it with my comments as we go through. So, I want you to begin to peruse your text for possible disorders to present in teams of 4. It can be fewer, but not more than 4. And I really need you to be at about 4 because that's the amount of time we have in our semester. If your partners drop the course, plan to present by yourself. That's just the way it is. And all of you are on your honor to let your fellow presenters know that you are dropping the class. Please don't be one of those students that just stops responding to texts or emails or calls because you don't want to deal with it. Your presentation partners need to know if you're not doing your part. So don't be difficult to get a hold of. And please try your best to be available for meetings with your group. If you can't go in person to the meeting, try to Skype or FaceTime and be part of the process. Please try not to allow work or kids or whatever make it so that you can never go to a meeting of your group, because this is the kind of thing you're expected to do in college, and it can actually be really fun, I promise. Okay, so everybody in the group should be completely familiar with all aspects of the disorder. That way, if one person doesn't show up, it's easy for the rest of you to fill in for that person. Let's see. So, you will tell me, well, it'll be the 4th week of the class this time, what you want to present. And I already talked to you in another session about coming up with 3 that you'd like to do, putting each one on a piece of paper, walking around the room and finding your 3 people. And you got to do it kind of quick because you need to run up to me and tell me, okay, we want paranoid schizophrenia. Okay, we want bipolar disorder. Okay, we want a scoriation disorder. Whatever you're going to pick, you need to pick it quick so somebody else doesn't get it. I'm going to schedule you. Sometimes we have to have some flexibility because sometimes we have guest speakers. Sometimes a presentation takes a little bit longer than another one, which is fine. There's no time limit on your presentation. As long as you cover symptoms, causes, treatment, prevalence, 2 cases, and a class experience, you're going to get an A, and it doesn't matter if you did it in 15 minutes or 45 minutes. No problem. You don't have to be looking at the time. Okay, so when you sign up for your disorder, don't use abbreviations because not everybody knows what, APD is. Let's see. Presentations are a terrific part of this course. Students really like listening to your presentations, and students do a great job usually about talking about the disorder. You can be creative with PowerPoint, music, and performance. When you give the class the experience of having the disorder, you can use class members, guests who have the disorder, friends who might be willing to act out a skit with you, but the class experience needs to involve every person in the class, so they can't just watch a skit and that's your class experience. You can bring in props of all types. Students have made items for each student to use during the presentation, and they've brought food items that help them illustrate the experience of having the disorder. For example, obsessive compulsive disorder. You can get those miniature packs of M&Ms and pass them out to all the students. Have them open them up and have them arrange them in some kind of a pattern on their desk. And then every time you say OCD, you have them mess up the M&Ms on their desk, and they can't put them back in their pattern until you say OCD again. And that really gives people the experience of what it's like to have had the pattern and be a little OCD about it, have to have it undone and messy on your desk, and the relief that comes when you get to put it back in the right order. Besides, students really like eating M&Ms after that, so it's a win-win. Okay, so inventing the class experience demonstrates to me your understanding of the disorder. So come up with something creative and original that the class will enjoy and really understand the disorder after they complete it. Your task is to become an expert on the disorder, so you're not distracted by worry that you do not know the material, and so that you let your fascination for the disorder be contagious in the class. When you present two cases of people with a disorder, like I said in the last session about your paper, find the most amazing ones. YouTube has a plethora of cases. Videos are required so that the class can really experience what it's like to have the disorder. Okay, partners are to participate in every aspect of the presentation. You'll be together as the PowerPoint, Keynote, Google Doc, or Prezi is created and share in the presentation. As I said, all partners must know every part of the presentation and exactly how to access and run it in class. If it's apparent that one student did the work and the other students will not receive credit for the presentation, this is a memorable part of your academic journey, so have fun with it. I have you do presentations also because your future employers expect you to be able to communicate clearly, to put together some kind of presentation. This is the standard in the corporate world now. I want you to be able to communicate. I want you to be able to work in a team. I'm not just having you work in a team of 4 arbitrarily. I want you to learn how to get along in a team. I want to make sure that you don't let one person dominate, one person do all the work, one person say, this is how I think it should be. And I want to make sure that all of you reach out and invite any person that seems shy and hesitant to be a full participant in the presentation. It's really important that you use these skills. After all, this is psychology, right? Use your psychology and have everyone have a good experience. Okay, so you're an expert on your disorder, so you're not nervous. You're also pretty passionate about teaching the students about it because it will be very interesting. So you need to know enough to be excited about sharing all you've learned. Don't omit any parts of your presentation. And if a member of your group can't be present, everybody needs to know the material, okay? The presentations have to take place on the date assigned, usually because we don't have time to reschedule them. But if some terrible thing happens, I'll work with you. You must have the class have an experience that's worth half your presentation grade. Okay, so if you're planning on using PowerPoint, Prezi, Google Docs, I guess I could put that space in there, please be prepared with notes in case the program cannot be launched. MJC's platform is PC, not Mac. I cannot use the iClicker system with your Mac. So please do not use Keynote. No Keynote. Save your presentation on 2 USB drives to be sure one of them will be recognized by the computer in class. Email your presentation to yourself. And most importantly, everybody pay attention to this. Email the presentation to me 7 days, 1 week in advance, with a description of your class experience. Be sure to explain to the class how your specific theoretical orientation explains the cause of the disorder and exactly how a person with this disorder would be treated with medication and details on their therapy. So sending it to me 1 week in advance in an attachment or giving me a URL to go to means that I get to look it over and make sure it's going to be a good experience for the class. And also that you've included all the parts so that you're going to get 100% on this. I also absolutely need to approve your class experience. No one can do a class experience without my approval. This is my way of making sure that we are not going to trigger students unnecessarily and have somebody have a bad experience. I will be collecting from all of you the things that trigger you, and I will be keeping those in mind as I approve the class experience. Okay, so please include details in your presentation. When you mention something, for example, a treatment, elaborate on it. Don't just list items and read them. So if you say, well, cognitive behavior therapy is best for this disorder, then talk about how does that look? How do they get cognitive therapy? How do they get behavior therapy? What are some examples of that? Okay, if you missed your presentation, you may make a presentation on another disorder on your own. So you have to write a paper on the disorder you present, so you'll need to write another paper if you miss your presentation. That is very sad if that happens, and I hope it won't happen to you. As I said, if you are ill, I will try to reschedule your presentation, but other than that, you might have to do another one by yourself. Okay, so your presentation will start with a symptoms test for students to help them see if they have similar behaviors and thoughts to people diagnosed with the disorder. You're going to add a disclaimer that your test does not provide an actual diagnosis. So you can go to a website and find a list of questions that are typically asked of a person who has this disorder. This brings the students' heads into the classroom and into the disorder and allows them to start thinking about what it would be like to have those symptoms. Then you talk about the symptoms, you give us the prevalence rate, you give us the cause with your theoretical orientation, your treatment with theoretical orientation, 2 cases, and an experience for everyone in the class. Then you conclude with 4 multiple choice questions based on the most important information in your presentation. So really think carefully about those questions. They need to be challenging but doable. Don't ask about the prevalence of a disorder. I don't like people having to think that they need to memorize that, and that's not the most important thing that you've put out there. Put the question and possible answers first, then a blank slide, then the same question slide with the answer indicated. Be sure to use A, B, C, and D for your options so students can use their clickers. After your presentation and people are done asking you questions, you'll go sit down and get your clicker, and you get to answer your questions too. So this is one series of questions you're going to get 100% on. If you include all these requirements and each person does their part, you're going to get the full 100 points for your presentation. So this is highly doable. If you guys all participate, it can be fun, and the class looks forward to it, especially the class experience. And these are the most memorable experiences in our class. I don't have you just memorize all of the symptoms of each disorder and talk to you about cases that I've read about somewhere. After each presentation, which is a much more entertaining and effective way for you to learn about a disorder, then I'll talk about clients that I've worked with that may have the disorder, if in fact I have worked with them. So this is a lively and engaging thing for us to do. Please don't be intimidated by it. Your fellow teammates and myself, we will help you with every aspect of it. If you're incredibly shy and cannot speak in front of a class, come and talk to me. I'll come up with something else you can do. Okay, I look forward to your presentations.